Alright, welcome to this hopefully quick and not a high production video. This is my 2016 Arctic Cat High Country 800. We've got her wrapped. She's a good looking sled and hope to make some videos of her this year. But we've got some serious problems. So we just finished doing the suspension, the air suspension, getting that in line since it was pretty much flat and the thing was like drag sled. But one of the biggest issues on here I've had with this thing is I had a company install this Skins rear grab bar. Very nice grab bar, but I don't know if it was installed correctly. So if you look down here, try to get that good angle so you can see it. It tapers out a lot right there, like kind of like a pyramid design, and it's not supposed to do that. It completely is bent, this whole tunnel. And I don't know if this is a direct cause of this bumper, because I didn't really get in a crash. I just saw it one day looking at it in the trailer. So on this video, we'll be trying to fix this together and see what we can do. So this issue does occur on both sides of the snowmobile. I've already gone ahead and unbolted the grab bar right here. Should be all we need to do. Hopefully I don't have to unrivet this because I don't have black rivets. Under here, you can see it, this piece right here, this came undone, and then all the way down there, back here where the wheels attach. I don't know how I can get that on video. Well, take my word for it, it's completely disconnected right around in this area. So this is gonna be a big project. Hopefully we can do it tonight. Alrighty, so I actually brought out the good camera and the microphone. I realized that if I'm really making a video, I might as well do it the right way. So we got the good cameras out, screw the phones. Alright, so here's the final product for the left side. I didn't record me doing the whole work because it was a lot of work and I didn't want to mess anyone up if they're using this as a tutorial, even though I don't intend on these videos being tutorials. So this is the final product. I am pretty satisfied with it. It still does bend out a little bit right about here, but overall it looks a lot better. And in fact, the main part of the tunnel that goes along here is actually almost perfectly straight. Now one thing I decided to do, because I could replace the part, was I did replace the bracket that connects right here and here. Unfortunately, this bracket right here is part of the tunnel assembly, and at that point you're not going to buy a whole entire tunnel just for that one bracket. So if you were to get the tunnel, you would literally replace the whole thing. I don't have time for that, and honestly, I got it looking pretty good. It's still bent out a little bit to the left, but once I bolt on the suspension, it'll flatten itself out, and that's when I'll apply the finishing touches to make it look as best as possible, such as a little bit of bending, some spray paint, and that's about it. So I will show the work on the other side, which is going to be a little bit easier. This side was extremely hard to do, and it actually took me almost all day. I did take a little ATV ride in between, but I spent a lot of time on it, mainly because of learning. Alright, so we're back. Welcome to day 2. Our parts came in. Big shout out to Country Cat. They came in a day after I ordered them. Quite amazing. So we will definitely be ready to run this in a few days when we go up to Michigan, and hopefully I plan on filming some of it so we can get some cool footage for our next snowmobile shoot. I think I am starting a new channel called Loose Screw Boondockers. There's a story behind it. Maybe I should explain it now. Maybe I should explain it on the channel. I think that's what I'll do. So stay on the lookout for a new channel. Possibly I will announce it, of course, with a video. So let's get back to where we were. Alrighty. So I'm not filming my face today because I don't feel like looking nice, even though I rarely ever can. Alrighty. So what I bought at Home Depot again, went back there, we got some of these carbide drill bits because I kept snapping the other ones, and quite frankly I think they were designed for wood. They worked, they drilled about one rivet and then they died. So we got the proper stuff right here. Sorry about filming a whole bunch of nothing. I just don't know what to film right now. I think that is all we acquired from the homeless despot. So we're ready to get to work on the other side and show you how it goes. Alright, so we're first going to remove these rivets so we can get rid of this bracket. I do like to lubricate everything I drill when it's metal, just so the bit lasts longer and it doesn't make that awful sound. I do use Seafoam Deep Creep, mainly because of the smell. It does smell good, and it does not give me a headache like other stuff like WD-40 and PB Blaster do. We're gonna try to get this rivet right here. It's a little flat, so I don't know if I'll be able to get it, but let's try it. Those are gone. I have to be honest, this is probably the best drill bit I've ever bought. Alright, so there's one more rivet connecting that bracket to the tunnel bracket. I'm gonna drill it from the other side once again because it's one of the flat ones. Alright, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill out this one rivet right here just so I can pull this back from the main part of the bend, of the dent. Alright, so that should be bent out enough to allow me to get a 2x4 in there to use as a straight edge. Alright, so I have my vice grips right on the center of the dent, and I have them tightened down pretty good, but I will use an old shitty screwdriver to finish the job. Alright, so I cut the 2x4 pretty much into a really small piece so I could apply the pressure to a lot smaller of an area, and this should work a lot better. Alright, so we're going to crank this again, see how it goes. And it's actually easier to have it not clamped in the clamping position because you can get a lot more cranking area and not have anything get in the way. Alright, we're going to redo this one more time. It would definitely be better to clamp from this angle because we're crushing the running board right now. Okay, so it turned out this is a really bad angle. We're going to go back to the basics, 2x4 and a mallet. Here goes nothing. Wow. So much for being accurate. I was never good at sports or anything like that. That's kind of why I got into crazy shit like this. Yeah, I'd say that's working a little bit. Okay, it's actually looking a lot better. I'm surprised because it did not work on the other side, which is why I brought out the clamps first. But then again, this is a lot better than the other side. You could almost say that's complete. Okay, that was a lot easier. Alrighty, so for our last little piece, I grabbed an old bracket, just put it behind here. It should work as a decent straight edge, not as good as a 2x4, but we had some space constraints. So, last but not least, we're just gonna get this tiny little spot right here clamped back. We don't wanna put too much pressure because this is an actual open spot right here, and it's very easy to dent this part. And while you dent this part, it's not gonna come out on the other side. So that's why I'm right on the corner. Alright, that seems as best as we can do. Unfortunately, it does look really good, however, but it sucks when your stuff doesn't look brand new anymore. Okay, like I said, this was a lot easier. Let me just get the camera angle so you can see how much better it looks. Alright, so I think the best angle to record this from is top down. As you can see, it's looking pretty flat. Actually, it looks better on this side now than it does on here. But they're both really good looking. Now our last step is we gotta bend that bracket back, which might be even harder. Seems like a lot of waste of work to bend it out of the way, but when that bracket is in position there, it does make it a lot harder to bend the tunnel back. Alright, so here comes the next part. This is where the long 2x4 comes into play. The bracket that came disconnected, we have to bend that back down. So we're going to use the 2x4 and a little help from the tunnel to get that back into position. We want to clear the track from the bracket so it doesn't hit anything. So basically I shove this all the way down the tunnel. I lift up the mud flap. Try try to position it as best as possible. Sometimes long ways is better, although it doesn't always fit. And then you just gotta keep kind of prying it down, just like so. It is gonna bend it a little bit outwards, but that doesn't really take away the structural support. And we will be fixing that later. Alrighty, so now we can pull this bracket back, the screw holes line up, and we can bolt and rivet it down. Alright, so I got the bracket clamped down. We are gonna put in our first rivet. You might be wondering, a little bit before this part, I said it took me a whole day to do the other side. And when I mean it was a lot harder, it was definitely a lot harder. So in order to keep a tight fit on these rivets, I'm not gonna re-drill a hole because that will make it actually looser and it won't fit good. So I'm just gonna give some light taps on this rivet gun. There you are, not too crazy expensive. Just like that, and we will put in our first rivet. Okay, now that we have our bracket disconnected, we're gonna go up a bit just so we can get it as flat as possible against the tunnel. While at the same time, while you connect this bracket, I'm definitely making sure that the tunnel stays flat and doesn't come back out to its old shape. Alright, so now is where I do some sheet metal screws because I trust them a lot more. And they actually have the ability to flatten the bracket a little bit because they will pull it in towards the tunnel. Alright, so I got my self-tapping screws, and the bracket itself follows these curves right here, so we don't want to put a screw here. We want to put it right in this area. So right below the rivet to the side, that's where I'm going to put the sheet metal screws. Okay, so I literally watched it pull the bracket towards the tunnel. It's so beautiful. I don't even have to try. Okay, our next one is gonna go here. Alright, last but not least, I put 4 or 5 along this bottom piece here, and that is it. Seems the screw is stuck against the old one. There we go. Alright, last but not least, I get shitty screwdriver to pry this bracket down just a tiny bit more, because I do leave a little bit of leftover space for no reason at all. And with that, I will put the rivets in to hold it in place, and then I will snap the rivets in. Alright, last but not least, I will pry this down, and I will use some sheet metal screws to hold this in place and push it against this, and then I will get the rivets in. Okay, so that is our final product. It does look a lot better. As I mentioned before, there is going to be a little bit of a taper, but as you can tell, it does look a lot better. It even, the slight bend that is still left almost blends in perfectly with the slight outward bend on the rest of the tunnel. But the most important part to consider here is that the suspension brackets are going to be once again stronger. It's more about the strength and the workingness of this rather than the aesthetics, although we do want it to look as best as possible, of course. Whew. Alrighty. Alright, so our grab bar is riveted down. I did run out of rivets, so I had to use about 3 short stubby ones, but just to fill the holes, but we will be putting the right ones in later on. So, last thing we're going to do is spray off all the metal, take it for a few rides. Then while we wait to go to Michigan, we're just going to give it a spray paint and give it some time to dry. Of course, spray paint isn't the best stuff to use, it won't last as long, and it's more delicate, but it does do the job, and it's easy to touch up every single time it comes off.